Ladies and gentlemen, Three Wise Man Wednesday is happening today, and we happen to be joined by a very special guest. You may have heard the news of a man getting arrested at a Trump rally in California this past Sunday. That man was Vem Miller. He is with America Happens, an awesome media network, and he is joining us today. Be sure to smash that like button. Be sure to share this out. Let's get some eyes on the prize. If I can get the music going. I am having some technical difficulties.
Now we're rocking.
Yeah,
we
it's
Gucci.
Crypto Blood, Detroit flow, streaming from the D, knowing what the show indicators are wrong point. OG since 12, invested in trade, living life like a pro. I'm Rucker, Jerry, and just Blood too. Bad motherfucker in a good way, boo. Got my eyes on the charts, ain't no time to sleep. Get that money, gotta keep it creep. That's why Crypto Blood, just the toasters on the line. Stacking my coin, got the market on my mind. Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum too. Cash is king, but I'm looking for a new move. I know the culture of the markets like the streets. Got my finger on the pulse, can't nobody beat. I see the trends, I see the flow. Got my strategies in place, you know.
Yo, it's MineYourBiz on the mic, coming through the mist, talking crypto and privacy things you can't dismiss. YouTube's wild jungle, I'm the lion, can't resist. Guiding through the blockchain, teaching about the risk. Mind your biz, don't miss. Eeny, meeny, miny biz, we on a privacy blitz. Stepping in the mix, dropping knowledge with no tricks. YouTube to the wallet, keep it tight, no links. Click clack, I hack the facts, that's how I attack. From Bitcoin to Monero, stacking privacy back. YouTube's got eyes, but I'm the cloak in disguise. NYB on the rise, educating the wise. Mind your biz, don't miss. Eeny, meeny, miny biz, we on the privacy blitz. Step in the mix, dropping knowledge with no tricks. YouTube to the wallet, keep it tight, no links.
Rice TVX, the mic's live wire. American Pitbull, real gold buyer. Sound money advocate, rights defender. In the crypto arena, he's the top contender. From the gritty streets of the digital age, Rice lays wisdom, chapter and page. Silver, gold, he scores only the bold. Land, life, and liberty, these values hold. Constitution, deep dive, knowledge revival. Navigate the system, critical for survival. Rights engraved like inscriptions on metal. Pitbull in the game, lead foot on the pedal.
Oh, I had that thing on a loop, man. Now I got to go ahead and end that track. And I want to fade it out to do it a little bit professionally.
Yeah, it's Crypto Blood.
We are live, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again for tuning in and joining us. We are once again joined by a very special guest. I want to go ahead and bring him up on stage. We are joined by the man himself. What did you want to say, Blythe?
Now, Rice, we said we were going to start, doing these surprise guests. And brother, you knocked it out the park with this.
Appreciate it. I would have loved for this to have been something GXA, which we'll touch on later. But with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and bring in our guest of honor. We are joined by Mr. Vem Miller, the infamous one. How are you doing today, Vem? Thanks for joining us.
Great to be on the show, man. I actually really like the music you guys were playing. Which artist was that?
AI artist, my friend. It's taking over.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
all that AI.
Yeah, MineYourBiz created those tracks using AI.
Wow. Yeah, no, it's kind of funny. And what the saddest thing is, on the one track, I was like, hey, you could take a little bit of inspiration from maybe Wu-Tang or something.
Right.
And it was like, it wasn't even clever about it. It just like came out sounding exactly
just
the same.
Like Method Man.
Yeah.
It was great. And so I want to let everybody know, I got in touch with Vem yesterday. He's been really cool. We talked last night, and he agreed to do this live stream like less than 12 hours ago, basically, or right around 12 hours ago. So I appreciate you accommodating us, man. With this whole situation and story, it's crazy. Before we begin, I want to let everybody know that myself, Crypto Blood, and MineYourBiz, we're all live streaming on our YouTube channels, on all of our X accounts, and my Rumble account. Make sure you're following all of us. Links are down below in each other's video descriptions for each other's socials, including all the socials for Vem as well as America Happens. Because there's a documentary that came out about 2 weeks ago, and I think that might be part of your problems. We'll get into
just a little bit.
Yeah.
But do you mind introducing yourself to the audience a little bit, and then I guess we can maybe get your perspective of what happened this past Sunday when you were arrested?
Yeah, sure. What kind of, how many seconds should I go with the bio? Because there's a short version, the really short version, and the longer version.
Well, I'm definitely going to, I would say short, medium. Well,
okay. The medium rare.
Because
medium plus or medium rare? What do you want, Rice?
We have your statement.
I like medium rare.
We have your we'll go medium rare, but I definitely want people to check out the full video about your statement about what happened that you put out 2 days ago. So we'll have links down below for that, plus the update about what happened at your parents' house. But yeah, dude, you got the floor. We want to help your cause as much as possible. I think this is, well, my opinion, this is false allegations. It's not coincidental, but I'll let you explain who you are. Take as much time as you like, and please give us your perspective of what happened Sunday.
So my background is so I've been doing documentary work or investigative journalism, music videos, kind of all around artist. That's what I consider myself. And first started really kind of documenting stuff in '92 with the LA riots. I was 17 years old, and I went down there to take photographs because I was living in LA, and really got, just the shit yelled out of me by my folks for really doing something stupid, because I could have got killed out there under the circumstances. But I had a passion basically for reality and documenting stuff and making films and all that. In 2001, I broke through as a music video director, directed music videos for people like DMX, Master P. I actually worked with Ghostface Killer and Black Thought from The Roots for a video I did with Executioners. I mentioned those guys because the tracks you were playing definitely had that kind of vibe to it, you know? Did that for about 7 years. John Mayer is another big one. Worked with Trey Songz as a director, you know. And then 2008, I transitioned to creating and selling TV shows, a lot of reality shows, a lot of documentary shows. In the midst of all this, I launched, after 9/11, I launched this thing called the America Happens Network. And then in 2007, we went viral. We were interviewed on Young Turks at the time. I was definitely much more of a Democrat at that time, just because I had grown up in the George W. Bush era, and I thought that guy was out of control. Everything he did was just the steps that were taken to reach the point where we are in this country. And I kind of see him, you know, all these kind of, presidents that are really deep state type presidents or military industrial complex presidents. But then was disappointed with Obama. And by the way, when Obama came, I thought, you know what, I don't want to do America Happens anymore. This guy's going to save us, you know. And I actually, believe it or not, campaigned for him. I made a lot of phone calls for him, you know, because I was reacting to the whole George W. Bush thing, which, by the way, 2000 was a stolen election with the hanging chads, and then that got us psychological warfare into getting these computers, when obviously they're using these dumb 1800 style machines. It should have just been better ways of doing, you know, hand voting and stuff, right? Not introducing machines that have algorithms and all this crazy stuff. It's obvious what they're doing there. You know, with one person, by the way, I know I'm jumping around right now. I talked about with this one person that's a programmer, is like the program for counting votes is something that a 12-year-old could do, you know, a programmer. And the fact that it's made so complex and there's incremental voting when there's no such thing as incremental humans is indication that they're doing some shady ass shit, right? Yeah. So then I'm kind of doing this kind of mainstream life with, you know, selling shows and producing shows for A&E and Discovery, History, Netflix, and just a whole bunch of networks, MTV, all these places. Show running, and also I was brought on to help develop programming for Vice Media when they launched their Vice network. Over there is when I actually experienced
went down the drain.
Yeah, I was there, bro. Like, basically what they did is they hired a bunch of purple-haired people and replaced all the professionals, and then the content got really shitty. I mean, it was terribly run. It was just, and that was like my first woke experience, where something that I was passionate about, which was the early Vice Media, the early 2000s, when it was the magazine and, Shane Smith going around war zones and stuff, which, by the way, that's what I was doing at the time. That's why they brought me in, because between 2001 and 2008, I was going to these war zones. Now, by the way, again, jumping around, they talk about my fake IDs and all that stuff's BS. I have 2 passports. One of the passports I put a different last name because my birth last name is, my birth certificate last name is Vem Miller Yanovkin, and Yanovkin is a clear Christian Armenian last name, and it wouldn't be prudent to go to Muslim war zones where I went on multiple occasions with that last name, because that's pretty much a death sentence. I 2008 between 2015 and 2018, I really definitely got into Donald Trump, and what he was doing is just honestly punk rock guy. You know what I mean? It's like, I look at it like ultimate, he's a suit guy, but it was definitely like he was the guy that was going to go there and break up this really corrupt system. And then we relaunched America Happens in 2000. I ran for office in 2022, so I was kind of incrementally working on America Happens. And then after I ran for office, which I secured a lot of votes, surprisingly enough, I got like almost 22% of the vote, 31% was a winning margin. And I went up against 2 very well-known candidates. Just by virtue of knocking on a lot of doors, I was able to actually run a respectable campaign. Then I basically really pushed America Happens at that point. And really the goal of America Happens, our motto has been Rage Against the Mainstream Media since 2007, is really because I had seen what the mainstream media looks like. I know that the mainstream media is dominated by law firms and PR firms, and they create most of the stuff, and I've seen it.
Pharmaceuticals.
And now pharmaceuticals, definitely more like in the last, I'd say, decade and a half. But it's a mess. It's a propaganda machine, and people that are well connected can get news stories out that kind of become headline news. And I know I've done this because when I was creating and selling TV shows, the way I broke into that business is I hired a PR company to blow up a story. These people got on the cover of People magazine, were all over the media, started a bidding war, and I was like, okay, this is all hype, you know what I mean? With America Happens, we produce a lot of content that basically exposes stuff, talks about stuff that the mainstream media really doesn't touch. And I think my experience right now is an interesting part of that, because I've heard from a couple of outlets that they're scared to have me on because their legal department has issues, but yet you have this Sheriff Bianco out there, who's the one spreading 100% lies, opening up legal liability for these mainstream media outlets, whereas my story has been 100% genuine and true, and I have the evidence right now to back up everything I'm saying. And basically, once the body cams come out, I mean, it's already kind of in terms of my version, it's already the credible version. It's I have the evidence right this second, right? But in terms of, with the body cams, I think once that comes out, it just really, I think what's going to happen is the sheriff is going to be investigated, dismissed. His deputy is going to be investigated, dismissed. And we found a lot of stuff out.
So let me ask you about this situation and this sheriff. Usually I personally like sheriffs. They're kind of independent. They
not all of them.
A lot of them. But the thing is, do you think he just jumped the gun to try to get attention on his sheriff agency, or do you think it was something more nefarious?
Well, I think I've come up with 4 options of what it could be. I think it's clearly one of these 4 options. One of the options is that the sheriff has governor aspirations, and he thought he's going to, announce to the world that he caught the next Lee Harvey Oswald before he damaged the president. And I'm sure if he has political aspirations, having run for office, political aspirations also means political consultants, which are often the worst kind of human being on the planet, which have emotional reactions. The sheriff's job is very simple. It's very black and white. Is it lawful or is it unlawful? That's it. Very simple job, right? And that's not what he did. And when you determine what is lawful and unlawful, there's something called evidence that helps you determine that. So for him to go up on stage and say a whole bunch of crap with no evidence, firstly, is a level of incompetence that you should not have in that powerful position. You simply should not. It's a level of immaturity. And it's also, we talk a lot of crap about Secret Service and feds. Well, guess what? They were there, right? And in fact,
Yeah.
this
Real
sort
quick,
of
real quick, real
yeah,
quick. I hate to interrupt you, man. Have you
go for it.
have you talking to anybody at the Secret Service, FBI, any government agency on the federal level?
No, because they had two opportunities to interrogate me, and this arresting officer said they're going to interrogate you. They want to know what your intentions are. Blah blah blah. 3.5 hours in, they had an opportunity. They declined. 6.5 hours later, they had an opportunity to interview me. They declined again, and then what was made a big hoopla of turned into this like misdemeanor ticket that I was given to after going through this hellish experience. And then the next morning I wake up and this guy's accusing me of being an assassin of Donald Trump, right? And in that, everything's a lie. I mean, I don't know where to start. The $5,000 bond's a lie. I departed with a ticket. All this stuff about fake IDs and fake plates and all that stuff. Well, here's the thing. Okay, that's in conjecture and emotion. He might think, oh, something is fake, but if it was fake and the Secret Service and the feds have seen it, those are felonies. Those are felony level crimes. But they give me a ticket about this discrepancy between Nevada law, which is in Nevada you could have 14 bullets in your gun in your mag. In California, it's capped at 10. In Nevada, you could have your mag loaded, which is the way it should be because the criminals have it loaded. But in California, they add this depending on how fast you are, they add like a 1.5 to 4 second lag so you could get shot in the head. And it's just this insanely communist kind of approach because now the lawful gun owner is the victim. And I know why they did this, by the way, because I haven't done my research on this, but living in LA, we had a lot of road rage shootings where people that had bullets in the chamber would lose their temper, and it's easy to just fire off versus
There was
load
one.
them back.
There was one deadly one just this past week in L.A.
And this is the thing of living in
Road
the
rage.
world as it exists, right? There is going to be that sort of thing, but how many people have died because now
Guns don't kill people, man. People kill people.
Yeah, exactly. And is there a quantification of how many people have died because now they added this 3 second lag to being able to fire a shot? I believe when you do those numbers, probably 10 times, 100 times more people have died because of the stupid law than from the road rage. So it's all fear-based. They give you fear, then they take away your rights. And we got to stop falling for this crap, like with the Patriot Act. And it's like even now what they're trying to do to me, like they're trying to make me fear. And I was like, guys, you know what? Like, there's two options here. Either like I'm going to kick your ass over this bullshit, or I fight dying. You know what I mean? And we got to stand up to these people. And people are too scared to take a stand like that. But fortunately, I got a lot of friends that are kind of the same DNA as I am, and we're gonna have a fun time with this situation.
So when do you think they put this assassination attempt framing on you? That storyline. When did that happen? The next day, or did that happen that same day?
It was Saturday. I'm mistaken. It was Sunday. It wasn't Sunday. It was Saturday that he was arrested. And I believe it was right after that they had done the press release. I can go back on YouTube and see.
Because what I want to do, Vim, what I want to do is try to connect some dots here and I want to talk about this documentary, Bundy versus Deep State. Mm-hmm. Crazy documentary.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah. Great.
Again, I think my personal opinion is that is the root of his problems.
Yeah, that's what I want to get to. I want to see if he thinks that.
Did you finish the documentary,
yeah.
Blood?
Yes.
Okay, so we know that the main, I don't know if you want to call him a whistleblower.
Mike Little. Or what's his name?
Mike Little. He was poisoned or something happened to him that nobody could figure out what was wrong with him, and he died.
Spoiler alert to anybody watching the live stream right now. You need to go watch all of this documentary from start to finish. Then you need to share it with a friend and watch it again at a watch party.
It's right here on the website at AmericaHappens.com, which will take you to the Rumble channel, and all the links again are down below.
And I want Vim to, and I'm jumping all over the place, but I want him to investigate and look into what's going on in Texas with a guy named Mitch Drexler, I think. He's uncovering the shit ton of stuff that's going on with property taxes, that the assessment departments, and it's tied into the board of the education, like the teacher union and all that. Like, it's crazy how they are stealing money from us through taxation on these properties and stuff. So we can talk offline. I want you to definitely look into that because it kind of mirrors what's going on with the Bundy situation. But go ahead.
So do you mind if I give you an email address real quick for that? For any of the viewers, if you got like exposés, you want to contact us, America Happens, just like the website, America Happens, just like it's written there, at protonmail.com. Send us anything, connect us with people. I mean, honestly, we're part of the few media companies that actually have the balls to pursue anything, you know, just like we did with the Mike Little one, which we always knew was a third rail, but you know, the dude died, you know, he died in front of me. It's like at that point, like, you know, it was really go down the road of cowardice or simply tell the story as a storyteller would, you know?
Well, and also I want to give like a little slight backstory is, you know, I'm friends with Ammon Bundy. I've had him on my show 4 times. When I found out about this documentary, I hit Ammon up on Monday. I was supposed to interview him yesterday. We rescheduled it to tomorrow. Ammon is dealing with a plethora of problems himself. And I know there's been attacks on the Bundy family as a whole, but with Ammon specifically, I'm trying to see if I had those notes that I had for the interview handy. Yeah, so 2014 was the Bundy standoff in Nevada. 2016 was the occupation of the National Wildlife Forest in Washington. 2020, he created People's Rights Network. That was the thing that connected people up in the neighborhood organized defense system. That website got taken down, I'm assuming, because of. So in 2022, he ran for governor of Idaho, at first as a Republican, then as an independent. Then July of 2023, he lost a defamation case against St. Luke's Hospital, which sued him for defamation, and he ended up being sued for $52 or $53 million. They took his home, they've taken everything. He's just recently filed for bankruptcy. He's asked for what they call, there's a word for like trying to keep certain properties, exclusions, like clothes, personal vehicles, tools for work. And St. Luke's is actually blocking all of it. They don't want the family to be able to even keep their fucking clothes. So Ammon's being attacked. The rest of the family is still being attacked. This guy who puts out a documentary, one of the guys in the documentary dies. And then the guy who directed and produced the documentary gets lumped up as supposedly the third assassination attempt on Donald Trump. The guy right here that we're talking to. This is the craziest thing, man.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I gotta say there, this is the way they do it, right? They want to just drain you, lawfare, and they have the system set up to do that. And you know, people are asking me, am I a sovereign citizen? You know, I've been very clear, I'm not a sovereign citizen. I think the terminology on its own is an idiotic terminology. There's other forms of law that we're not told about that I think some people mistaken for the sovereign citizen thing. But let's dissect why people want to be sovereign. Could it be a great mystery that the system is so? Could you curse on the show, by the way?
No, feel free to say what the fuck you want.
Could it be that the system is so fucked up and corrupt, as we're seeing right now on every level, that these sovereign citizen things are necessary? It's necessary for 1 million people to show up on January 6th. People are pissed off, and yes, some people did some, you know, dumb things at the Capitol, but this is not coming from nowhere. Like, and the way they do it is they dehumanize these people as if they're emotionless, as if they don't have any story. I bet you go through January 6th, you speak to everybody over there, and what you will find that is 90% of the people there were in one way or another affected by the corruption and systems like the bar, you know, systems like, you know, the way they have Congress set up now, the lobbies, all that stuff that essentially creates this umbrella of too much power of the federal government, and allows them, you know, when you watch the Bundy versus Deep State documentary, you'll see it gives them all the power to do corruption, takes us away from the founding fathers' vision of limited federal government, states' power, steals our resources of we the people, and then if you say something about it, you become, you know, the third assassin for Donald Trump, you know?
Yeah, well, then that was yesterday. How about today, when we're just coming to light? I guess it was September 27th, right? That the DOD revised their guidelines on how they'll be at least bare minimum sharing intel and other resources with civilian law enforcement in actions or in any kind of actions or any kind of a active conflict area, including citizens and civilians in the United States. Like,
I saw that.
This is new clarification just came out.
I saw that last night after we were talking, Vim, and I
Hey,
said,
I'm doing some double duty. There's a dude that's knocking on the door. I apologize. I
"Oh,
gotta
you're
let you
good, man.
guys
You're good.
in.
If you need us to take you
Yeah,
off
come on,
off for a
come on in.
minute,
No, I could just go inside. Come on in. Just lock the door behind you, sir.
okay."
Yeah.
So yeah, this is an out. I'll drop this in the chat. So if people want to check this out themselves,
I'll
they're more
drop
than
it in
welcome
there
to.
now.
You did, or
Is that the original? Is that the full document? Because I got the link directly to the DoD website.
can you drop it in the chat, either
Yeah, I
the
got you.
private or live chat?
Now I'll drop it to you.
Because yeah, below this, and this is I definitely I'm not an expert in this subject, and that's where I have to trust other people that understand these type of documentations. But it's basically, what is it called? DoD Directive 5240.01, and that's the first page of it. That's the second page, but it's talking about force on civilians.
Actually, this is a 16. This is a 16-page document. They skip ahead to show you this section of it, so that you can jump to the meat and potatoes. There's a bunch of other stuff that they revise. There's been a few revisions over time. I think at least once in 2016, once in 2000. So this is a working document the DoD needs to use for intel sharing. But only recently did they make the change that we're all reading and thinking, presuming, interpreting to mean that they can then more easily use lethal force against civilians.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these things aren't pointing in a good direction. I know a lot of people are hoping that if Donald Trump is to be elected, that a lot of these things would be fixed and solved. So,
And that's what I want to ask Vim. So I'm a Trump supporter. I think Rice is coming on to that side.
Told him my stands on Trump.
Yeah, I don't know where the hell Seth. I don't know where he stands.
I'm a freedom,
mystery.
privacy, and sovereignty maximalist. If it gives the individual better sovereignty or better freedom or protects their rights better, I'm for that person. That movement.
So my question to you, Vim, is like, I like a lot of what Trump is talking about, his policies from a business standpoint, even foreign policies, right? With tariffs and stuff. I think a lot of those tactics work. But as far as a deep state, do you think he will be able to actually drain the swamp this time? I know he'll attempt to, but he only has 4 years. That's my thing with Trump. Like, a lot of people think he's going to be the savior.
Yeah,
and the panacea, and I just don't see it.
This is the thing. It's like they put Trump as a singular person, right? Okay. Now, there's a lot of things. Okay, so Bundy versus Deep State, right? We released that documentary a week later. Donald Trump's in Las Vegas making a speech, and he starts talking about the land fraud in Las Vegas, the overreach of the federal government, right? You know how many instances of that I've seen? The Mindy document, Mindy Robinson, my business partner, the Route 91 shooting. Like 3 weeks ago, Ron DeSantis is like wanting Florida to investigate the assassination attempt on Donald Trump because he's saying we never figured out what really happened in Las Vegas.
Exactly.
Like, this is why, when I say art is the greatest weapon, art is the greatest weapon. And I always knew that I would be targeted for this because when you make documentaries, when you do concise stories that tell you what's going on, there's nothing more powerful. It's like a court case, but it's even sexier than a court case because you're putting your case forward. You're putting your case forward, and essentially what's happening is that you're giving it to the public in a very palatable way because reading a lawsuit is kind of tough. It's almost like a movie script versus the movie. Most people cannot read a movie script and imagine the movie, but when you actually make the movie, it's palatable by the masses. So this is why artists have been a threat to the elite because artists travel very different circles of life. Like, you could be a lawyer and you're pretty much going to be stuck in a lawyer world, right? If you're an artist, you're pretty much talking to, I can tell you in my lifetime, I've hung out with the richest of the rich, and I've hung out with street guys that are pretty much, criminals. Mm-hmm. Not criminals that I dislike, I'll be honest with you, because I know their circumstance, I know kind of what they're doing and stuff, especially when I was directing videos. I mean, I met a lot of people like that, So, yeah, man, it's, artists are scary to these people, especially when you know what to do,
Was there any mention when you were arrested or anything that would have given you indication that those guys would have been aware of, like, the documentary or any of your work?
I mean, they're calling me a sovereign citizen because of things that I think they're misperceptions of stuff. They said that I'm an anti-government type of person,
Did you have
and
something like this on your car?
I'll tell you what I have on there is fully legal. That's why I didn't get cited for it. Now that also tells you what the sheriff's knowledge of law and how he knee-jerk reactions based upon what is put out by the mainstream media, like the word conspiracy theorist, by the way. You know, to stop people from questioning the JFK assassination. So now you have this they call sovereign citizens. Why? Because if you actually go down what is called the sovereign citizen rabbit hole, and you go deep enough. See, sovereign citizens don't have credibility because it's a nonsensical term. It's a misnomer, right? But if you spend more time and be like, wait a minute, let me get down to the truth of it, and you get the trust law, you get the common law, you get the constitutional law. That's the stuff they don't want you to find out. So now they have this fear word where it's like, oh, these crazy sovereign citizens, because they don't want you to find out what that study could potentially lead to. And just like you show your license plate, if you have that license plate on a car, and knucklehead like Sheriff Chad Bianco will say that's a homemade license plate, right? But
What the hell is that, right?
It's metal. It's a private plate.
It's a private plate, exactly. You have
Because
private
because
travel,
there's
you
a
have commercial
traveling
travel.
there's a traveling versus driving argument that we can get into like in future. Me and you, Blood, have talked about this. And the
Yeah.
other thing too, just so you know, Vim, Blood has family members that would be in the category of Moors. Okay, so he's very familiar. The more people who basically is like this the black version of the freedom movement.
I've actually bought one of their books. There's a really good one called I think it's called From Freedom to Slavery, I think. But that's a Moore guy. I remember him being one of those, yeah.
So what do you think about this upcoming election, man? And I do want to get back to the documentary, but like, how do you feel about the current state? A lot of polls are showing Trump ahead. It's not that I don't believe them. I don't trust that our election process is actually.
No, a lot of people are starting to turn on Kamala. Like the media spin starting to go down. She's made a
but
lot of bad appearances.
Do you still
last
think
her
that
trying to help black men and Obama trying to like
that was horrible.
What he did.
That was a bad move.
This is just getting to be a joke. That's all.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, do they let him win, or what happens? What do you think happens on November 5th? Vim?
Are you voting for Kamala?
Hey,
Did you remember I told you those 4 different possibilities of what could have happened here?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, if I could break those down, I think that'll answer this question. So, number 1 is basically an anti-MAGA deputy sheriff that was making derogatory statements about MAGA. Then you have the actual sheriff, that's number 1, right? Who just wanted to cause me harm, because he saw that I'm a Trump caucus captain. He saw my Trump team leader shirt, and he was doing it for those reasons. Number 2 is Sheriff Bianco wanting to be in a higher office and thinking he's going to use this as a big media blitz, his 15 minutes worth of fame. I think that's also a very highly likely situation. Number 3, Bundy versus Deep State. Number 4 is something that I can't talk about in any detail, but what I will say is, as the America Happens Network, we get a lot of tips. And could we have potentially stumbled on how they are going to commit fraud in 2024? Could we have potentially stumbled upon all the details, basically, showing how this fraud's going to happen? Now, this has not been shared with anybody, but I'm very well aware that phone conversations are monitored. I know, for example, the owners of certain streaming companies, I know that sometimes that leads to certain kind of intelligence operations of certain countries. And I know the individuals that would understand how that works because they've been in the intelligence field, and I don't want to give names on that topic because I don't know if they want to be mentioned, but it's not hard to figure out when you watch some of our content, especially recurring individuals that are constantly mentioned, and the fact that we have relationships with those kind of individuals, right? So this number 4 is now starting to become like, as I'm getting more updates on what's going on and what's being found, this is starting to become a good potential as to what's going on. So yeah, discredit the guy.
Is there any further detail you can tell us in their methods in attempting to change or rig the election this year? Is it the same? or a
No,
different
no,
method?
it's not. It's not. I don't know if it's the same. But what I would say is that it is like, how could I say this? It is when it happens, it's going to look very ridiculous to people. Now the question becomes, how do the people react, and are they going to just let it go? Frankly, I think the only solution to a potential stolen election is a breaking up of the union, right? Because we could have a Texas Republic as the somewhere in their capital, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where now we have 20 something states, and I'll tell you what's going to happen with that. You're going to have a country that is going to go by constitutional values, and it sucks that the union's going to be split, but when we go by our constitutional values and the rest of the country becomes California, guess what's going to happen? It's going to be an unlivable shithole, right? Did my camera go off?
It's
Oh, there we
back.
go.
It's
Yeah,
back.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's back.
it's going to be an
yeah.
unlivable shithole, and the property
Yeah.
values are going to drop. Within 20 years, this Texas Republic, United States, is going to buy the rest of the land. All those people are going to be like, damn, we fucked up hard. You know what I mean? It's going to suck. But you know what? A split United States is still a very powerful nation as long as it's a constitutional country. And frankly, I have more trust in Texas than I do Washington, D.C.
And Rice, I know you said you don't believe a civil war could happen in modern day because of how everything is
Not
segmented.
kinetic, not pew
Okay.
pew. That's all. I'm not
it's
saying that we
happened in
can't
the
work
past.
We're in
hard.
the Civil War. We're in the Civil War.
Right, but I just don't see it getting to the point that people are shooting each other. I mean, there may be some instances, but I don't see it like we have.
Okay, you're right, Rice. We're not going to line up and wait for the the enemy to shoot first and then we shoot second. No, we're not having that type of civil war. You're right.
You
And
know,
I mean,
could I give you
nobody's
guys-
encouraging violence. I don't
Yeah,
believe.
I'm definitely not down for violence, but there's a historical precedent to this. There's a book called Operation Nemesis. If you guys read any of the viewers actually reads I guess the summary of it, the one paragraph summary, it's very similar to Operation, the Munich movie after World War II, what happened there with, chasing Nazis around the world. Now, this is not something I'm suggesting. This is not something that's even in my lane, but could I imagine a lot of very well-trained individuals, patriots that just had enough, and there's something like an Operation Nemesis to put away, people that are committing crimes against humanity, and there's enough evidence, anything's possible. Anything's possible. I just don't think that these individuals that died for the country are going to look at something that is criminal and corrupt and just kind of like be like whatever, And again, this is not my lane. I'm the storyteller. I'll be the guy that's documenting it if it does happen. I certainly do not want this sort of thing to happen. And I've lived through civil war for a couple of years. I know what that looks like. I know what conflict looks like. It's not a video game. I think Americans, we've been too spoiled to think that this is kind of like something that is pretty much it's hell on earth, and I just I could see a lot of things happening.
Vim, real quick,
I don't see the people that vote Democrat going to the line, going out there. It's mostly going to be a compromised military, if you ask me, Rice.
Yeah, exactly. Compromised military. Illegals that are armed,
right?
Yeah, mercenary
right.
army. We talked about that. Me and Seth.
So I was in Chicago over the past week, Rice, and I don't know if they're illegal. I just know they're immigrants. Okay, I'll leave it at that. All right, but all I know is that it was a Thursday night. Okay, 11 o'clock, and these people had their kids working for them on the street selling candy. 11 o'clock. At night on a school night.
Where would you say that the majority of these people might have been from, or is it a variety?
They look like they came from Mexico. I mean, I don't know, Rice. I don't know.
Right.
From south of the border. I put it to you that way. But it's just and they look clean though. They were like they had
crazy.
Adidas track suits on. They weren't homeless. They had somewhere to go, clearly. But they had their kids out there peddling, candy and making money. It's just ridiculous, bro.
I'd love to drop something here on this topic. Line in the Sand, the new James O'Keefe movie, absolutely a masterpiece. I'm a film snob. I know a masterpiece when I see it. James knocked it out of the park, and he's got the receipts.
That's sad
there.
what happened. with him, with James and his company, and they turned on him and stuff. That's a whole
Veritas.
Yeah. But
Veritas.
James is a different level guy. I mean, I've hung out with him. We went hiking about a month and a half ago for I mean, we're stuck on this hiking trail for 3 hours, so we had a good long conversation. I was at his premiere, very supportive. I actually wrote an article that I can't even publish right now because it's in my computer, which is still impounded in my car, but I'm eventually going to publish it, explain why I think it's an absolute masterpiece. But that shows you, like, I think like something like $60 billion is spent on literally trafficking, paying criminals, paying criminal NGOs to facilitate this, what's happening. It is fully funded by our government, like other horrible things like COVID and all that stuff.
Right. So let's talk about this Bundy.
So that's
the land.
What I wanted to ask real quick, and it's related to it, is the possible potential tips that you're talking about is a fourth scenario. Are they potentially bigger than what's being exposed in the Bundy versus Deep State documentary, or is it like you think a combination of all of the above?
You know, they're both daggers to the heart of the corruption. I mean, if any of these things were to ever come to light, I mean, the Bundy is actually filed. Yesterday, they filed just the missing exhibits. I think there was 7 missing exhibits. So the case is now complete in the system and moving forward, right? So that's a dagger in the heart of all the corruption. This other thing is a dagger in the heart of all the corruption too, but like this other thing's a little bit, I mean, I don't even know what I'm doing this mess, to be honest with you, man. I'm just a documentary filmmaker. People give us tips. We pass the tips on to others. We interview people, and apparently that turned out to be a good skill set to derive information and give it to the right kind of people. It's just massive. It's massive. If it's ever to come to light, I mean, the Bundy versus Deep State thing's already come to light. This other thing, it just involves a lot of moving parts,
How long was Mike Little in the hospital sick, and what was the situation with that?
So 5.5 weeks between him getting ill and dying, and it was undiagnosed illness, right? We caught that on camera, as you've seen in a documentary with the doctor saying he's undiagnosed, I think like 5 days before he dies. And then they tag COVID onto it because, as we know, they make a whole bunch of money off the COVID thing. And in fact, they use COVID protocols to take a man that was already 90% depleted and to kill him off. Yeah, and by the way, one other thing, sorry to interrupt you guys.
No, you're good.
We were there yelling and screaming at the nurses and even the family, and then they excluded us because they said the family, because they're not informed like us. They said we're a bunch of conspiracy theorists, and 3 days later, Mike Little was dead. We were there 5 days before he died. At his request, we started giving him holistic medication. He started to get better, and then they kicked us out, and he was dead in 3 days.
Wow. Jeez. So did the Bundy family know about this land? And you can go in detail about this 155 million acres. Am I correct?
No, 11 million 530,000 acres.
11.5 million. Did the Bundys know about that prior to Mike Little discovering all of this, or was that something that was an afterthought?
Well, that was one of the biggest points of the argument, though, that the Bundys had, was the fact that it's not government land, that the animals.
So they knew that already.
But the government's trying to say no, it is federal land, and that's kind of and technically the Bundys lost their case. They went to jail. They went to prison for a couple of years.
They didn't. So let me clarify some of that. So, but Cliven Bundy, remember, Cliven Bundy's a rancher, right? But he knew that based upon his understanding of the Constitution, this was not federal land, right? But then it was, I guess, in a suit, you need a little bit more specificity. You need a little bit more evidence, and this is where Mike Little comes in and says, "Look, you got the right." You have the right endpoint, but you don't have the best possible argument getting there, and that's what he and others that were involved in the case. And that's what's important to remember. It's like in the documentary, intentionally so, because Mike Little was alive then. He wanted to be the point person. He wanted to be the mouthpiece, and other people were going to remain anonymous that were working behind the scenes, but also providing equal value in terms of their legal knowledge and approach, right? But then once Mike Little passed, we're basically faced with an option. As a filmmaker, I was faced with an option of like, do we just put this away and kind of not be attacked by the deep state, or do we put this out there, right? And men step forward. I did my role in just finishing the piece, getting it out there, and that's kind of where my work finished. I'm not really involved in the lawsuit aspect, even though the lawsuit's published at the America Happens website. We did that so people could actually read the lawsuit and see that this is a real thing in action, which is kind of like what we like to do now, which is you got two courts of public opinion that are relevant. You got the court of public opinion, and then you got the courts. Now the courts have been known to be very corrupt. We've seen with the Donald Trump political persecution, Elon Musk, anybody that says anything, Bundy, like they use the courts as a way to shut people up and make their lives hell, right? So that's not working on its own due to the corruption. But if you got the court of public opinion, even if the lawsuit's lost and people know the lawsuit was lost, stolen, whatever you call it, that raises awareness, and eventually that catches up to them. You know what I mean? It might take time, but that awareness, knowledge, this is the beauty of our, First Amendment, freedom of speech, freedom of press, and that's why they want to stop that, because that is one place where, it's hard to, let go of our freedoms by exposing the tyranny.
This documentary, dude, is very well put together. You did a great job with it, man. I really appreciate you and America Happens having the balls to do this. And I even want to say something publicly, that just something that kind of lit a fire underneath of me. When I was talking to Ammon Bundy, I was telling Ammon that I was a little apprehensive and paranoid about interviewing him about the St. Luke situation because of the fact that he was sued for everything he has. And Ammon said, "Well, that's not really brave of you, is it, Chris?" And I got called a pussy by Ammon Bundy. So it made it really made me realize. It made me realize, like, I kind of took a step out of the fight for a little bit. And I started to think about it more last night. It was a lot after January 6th. Numerous people I was there with have been visited by FBI. People I know here in North Carolina have been arrested.
Vim, were you in Washington on J6?
Dude, you want to hear something crazy? Okay, so I'm a devout follower of Jesus Christ, man, and I sincerely am. And in the last 2.5 years, I've been much more aligned with that, following the footsteps of Jesus Christ. There's been instances in my life where random shits happen, right? One of those random things is I'm about to go to January 6th. I get a call from a high school friend of mine. By the way, crazy enough, I later find out that he has like literally God-given ability that he hasn't told anybody about because he doesn't want to appear like a freak, almost like an X-Man, but like legitimate biblical gifts. And we've read about him, the certain powers that, that people have, like discernment and, speaking in tongues and all that, And he tells me, I haven't spoken to him in like 6 months, but he randomly calls me when I tell him I'm going to January 6th. He's like, don't, you're going to get arrested. And it's happened in a few instances in my life at crucial junctures where I've just had to follow instinct of others. When he told me, I thought he had a great point, because he's like, dude, you're the kind of dude that's going to go film all this shit. You're going to get into trouble. You might get killed. I didn't go. And I'm fortunate I didn't go because they don't have that on me,
Right. For sure. That would be one more thing that would be a problem for you, a battle for you in the court. And
I safely. I haven't been visited by anybody. I told you last night I was live on Facebook while people were breaking into the Capitol building itself, while I was on a street right in front of it, like right where the grass was. I was in the street. You can hear a bunch of like young Christian groups out there singing hymns and things like that, which is the ironic thing, because I'm hearing hymns and people singing all these like love Christian songs while people are supposedly being violent and breaking into the building. It was like I told you, I didn't go there for the purpose of breaking into a building. I went there to have our voice be heard and to take a stand, because I have this philosophy that when enough people take a stand, nothing can stand against the people, but you actually have to have enough people. I used to say that a lot. I even got away from saying that. So it's like, I've allowed this whole thing to kind of drag me down a little bit. And, when Ammon said that to me, it definitely gave me a fire. And then seeing what was happening to you and realizing that we could try to bring some attention to this, which we just lost him. So hopefully he'll be joining us.
Whoa.
But there he is. Okay. I guess before we do anything else, I want to ask Seth, because he's been real quiet. He said a few things. You got any questions, Seth? Anything you want to ask?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've been kind of waiting to see, because I realized that Vem, you mentioned the 4 different possibilities that in your mind made the most sense, and then you circle back to that. And I was wondering if at any point you felt confident at right now talking about the legal aspect of all this. I mean, I watched through the piece that you recorded twice. It was gripping, man. Really, it was like I was on the edge of my seat listening through the personal story of your account going through this. And you mentioned at the end something of a sort of like an overall silver lining that you were looking at. Like, man, these guys, like, they've really messed up. Like, they, like, tactically, they totally shot themselves in the foot by going that last little bit of making it of trying to defame you.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about that much right now?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Where's your head at?
So we've already filed a lawsuit. A very prominent lawyer. I got approached by very prominent lawyers. I ran for office with one of these prominent lawyers in 2022. We had a relationship. These people all know. I mean, the thing that's been amazing is all the people that know me, they're like, dude, no way. You know what I mean? Either you're like an undercover sociopath on a different level of James Bond that's never existed in history of humankind, or this is complete bullshit. So, yeah, I mean, it's like most people that never thought that I'm capable of this. But essentially, this lawsuit was filed yesterday. It's already gone public. It's already available on Pacer. It's filed in a Nevada Fat Vem over there. Hey, I love those. I don't know why they put the Fat Vem pictures. I wish I was like 50 pounds overweight there. But
well, this is Roger Stone, like, trying to come out and say good things about you, saying that you were falsely accused. I don't know if you saw that.
I love Roger. I was on his show. We worked together. I actually did a short 40-minute documentary about the JFK assassination. It was more of a podcast, but a very illustrated podcast that kind of feels more like a doc. I mean, the thing I like, I mean, I've always liked Roger Stone. I think he's a brave man. His JFK assassination book is by far one of the greatest. I believe he knows a lot more in terms of specifics of who the shooters were. I think he had to kind of downplay some of that, but I think he gives enough information where it's pretty clear, what he knows. You know what I mean? And I think that Nixon connection, I think Nixon just flat out told him everything, and he had to just keep it in confidence so he doesn't get shot. You know?
There's so many conspiracies too about, like, people like saying stuff about you personally. One thing I want to kind of clear up, if you don't mind, is people have talked about, since you've been involved in the music industry, that you work directly for Sean Combs, aka P. Diddy, aka
not the diddler,
aka Love. Have you? Not that, I mean, it wouldn't matter if you did videos, but have you been to, like, have you had any sort of working relationship with Diddy, or have you been to any of his parties, freak offs, white party events, anything to that effect?
This is the thing where I think people are just really stupid, because my statements about Diddy are how much I despise him, because he stole $30,000 from me. I wrote a music video for him that I was supposed to direct on the day of, and we had a contract. On the day of, he decides he's going to have his buddy basically direct my music video concept. I was already contracted, so I should have got my fee. So he screwed me over. He screwed so many people over stealing songs. I mean, Mace has been really public about writing most of those hits and getting screwed over and not getting paid properly. In 2003 and 2004, I went, and again, people got to do their research. The white parties were very different than these freak-offs. The white parties were like, you had, even though, Diddy's always been Diddy, the white parties were not, and by the way, there's different elements of the white party. There's like the white party areas where I wasn't hanging out, where I've heard, there was a lot of, like homosexual stuff happening with Diddy and stuff, but I wasn't in those rooms. The main room of the white parties was just a party. There was a lot of prominent people there, and I just, happened to get into these things because I was directing music videos at the time. I had
you went home when Denzel went home. Basically.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like, we're directing music videos. I'm new in the business. I haven't been screwed over by Diddy at this point. We're talking 2000. I got screwed over by Diddy in 2005. So in terms of not paying me and stealing my music video concept and giving it to his buddy, But in 2003, 2004, I was doing some, really big videos with DMX, Master P, a whole bunch of people. That made me a name. Actually, it's funny, man. One of my videos that cost like a fraction of what the Diddy video cost got nominated in the best video of the year category. I'm sure that got his attention. So I got a couple of invites. Went and hung out, and again, it's kind of like jumping these conclusions where, hey, just because this guy has a law-abiding, gun-carrying citizen, he has guns, therefore he's here to assassinate the president. That kind of a ridiculous conclusion that, I went to a party as this kind of young music video director that at that time was excited to even be in that world. I don't know, 25 years old or whatever I was at the time. And I just happened to go to this party, therefore I have to be a pedophile. So what I mean?
Which video was it that you that did
stolen?
It was one of his artists, Boys in the Hood, and it was something to do with them rapping on a block, something about a block.
Boys in the Hood, the Jeezy, the Jeezy group.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. It was basically the video was like them. I think it was actually called Block something or My Block or whatever. Yeah. And I wrote that concept, and
I just figured it'd be good to kind of clear up some of these things. I know that some people have been like talking negatively about Mike Flynn, and there's some.
I've got a contrarian question
for
you.
Conspiracy about Mike Flynn, though.
So, what do you say to people that are saying? I've heard this once. He did this so that he went and got arrested so that he can bring light to his documentary Bundy versus Deep State. What do you say to people?
That'd be pretty genius, but the people, again, you got to think a little bit more deeper than the first layer of the onion. Like,
you're muted.
Did that cut out?
We got you now.
Yeah, we got you now.
So how would I know that this would be the result that like, I'm going to drive up there and I'm going to do the same thing I've done, which has been evidence, has been heard by police officers in Nevada in terms of declaring I got, guns in the trunk, going to this completely separate location. That's what's important to remember is these parking lots are completely separate locations because they don't have, and I'm talking about there's usually minimum quarter of a mile distance, half a mile, sometimes a mile, because one of the assassination techniques is via car bomb. So you don't have the parking close to the perimeter, right? That's just the way the security's set up. So to me, I'm going to not the rally, I'm going to the parking lot, then walking a great distance, which just by looking at it, I would estimate at least half a mile, if not more, to the actual rally. So there's a sequence of events there that, there was a famous financial economist that talks about the human element and how it's unpredictable because you don't know how people are going to react. So I would have had to have some kind of Nostradamus godlike capability to know that, hey, this is going to lead to, this is going to lead to this, this is going to lead to this, A, Z, A, B, C, D, and then get to Z. And that's just not the way stuff happens. That's not the way the world works. It could have been that I showed up, I declared that, hey, the same thing that I've done all the time, and then they shoot me. You know what I mean? It's like, we don't know what the human beings.
So why? Yeah. Okay, so why would you bring a gun to a rally?
I'm going to ask a different question in a second related to that.
So to clarify, that's what I was trying to say. I wasn't trying to bring guns to the rally. I was taking my car to a parking lot and leaving the car there with the guns inside there, then walking to the rally. So that's a very different thing than actually rolling up into, which is impossible anyways, because they got perimeters, they got security. It's not like, and my guns aren't the kind of guns that are used by assassins. We're talking about a Glock with 14 bullets. And
what kind of Glock? Are you Kamala? Are you saying Glock? Because that's what Kamala said, just Glock, but she didn't distinguish what kind of Glock.
Yeah.
I think it's Glock 19.
Okay, I just make sure you know what you're talking about there, sir.
Yeah.
Just saying Glock because Tupac used Glocks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, but then the other was shotgun.
Yeah, let me jump back and just ask really fast because like you're saying, these are not like the usual suspects. If for example they really wanted to frame you, if you were really the right guy, right? If you actually fit the description, right, and checked all the boxes, you would have already been previously contacted by somebody from the FBI in the last 3 to 4 months. They would have made very conspicuous attempts to contact you directly. They would have absolutely directed you away from getting a shotgun and towards getting an AR-15 specifically. And they would have made sure that you also broke every possible regional law, which is all the California bullshit like magazine restrictions and all the other like binding devices preventing you from actually being able to hold the firearm the way it was designed. But like all that stuff aside, what I was going to ask, I like that Blood asked you, like, why did you bring them? I'm going to ask you a more fundamentally free question, and that is, why did you tell them? You had no responsibility to disclose.
I mean, I guess honesty is not the best policy. I'll say that in Nevada, cops are often maligned and stuff everywhere. But I got to say that, Joe Lombardo, who my business partner actually despises, and she's been very vocal of it. I will give Joe Lombardo one thing, that when he was sheriff, he became governor subsequently. I think it seems as though that force is trained very well. Now, let's talk about these guys right here. Now, as you get into my Not Vem Miller account, I've started posting evidence there.
I got this pulled up here for you.
The tickets, and then I'm going to keep posting evidence, and I'm going to show 100% they're lying. Now, the other evidence that's been posted is we've started doing deep background on this Chad Bianco sheriff character, right? And boy, what are we finding about him? I mean, this guy is like the Tony Soprano. He runs that police department like Tony Soprano. They lost a $7.5 million lawsuit because of bad criminal behavior just weeks ago. We're getting reports, and actually I posted this, that he is limiting his own officers' gun rights if they get injured, like literally takes their guns away, and everybody's pissed off at that. Apparently half the police force hates him for doing that. He claims he was once an oath keeper, but then kneels with BLM, right? It's just the more you search on this guy, other things like, people getting bribed and bullied to cover up criminal behavior. Another thing that's interesting is a lot of his inmates at the correctional facility there die from malnutrition. It's an outrageous number, and has been criminally investigated by the federal government. So The more you dig about this guy, other than him being completely full of shit with everything he said about me, you also find out that this guy is a gangster. He's a gangster. And, the crazy thing about what happened the other day is I found out he has a presence in Las Vegas, and lo and behold, 12 rogue anti-terrorism cops show up to my parents' home and essentially try to intimidate and harass them. Luckily, a good friend of mine, Steve Sanson, who runs a group called Veterans in Politics, was there to basically read him the riot act. They threatened to arrest him for obstructing of justice, and he's like, dude, what do you mean obstructing of justice? You guys don't even have a warrant. You're here illegally. And then my friend calls the sheriff of Clark County, Kevin McMahill. Kevin McMahill tells him he doesn't even know what's going on over there because he's away on holiday or something, and he didn't authorize this. And then an investigation's launched, and then I get a phone call from the head of the terrorism unit saying this was all a mistake. He wants to apologize, that they're actually scared for my well-being. They have reason to fear my life because now this information's out, and there could be some kind of nut that thinks that by killing me, they're actually helping to save the president's life because I'm a so-called assassin. So now it seems as though there's two contingencies within the police department. One of them, being, probably if I was there that night when they showed up, you flinch, they shoot you, I could have been dead. So that's potentially that, result.
Well, real quick, for the fact that the Secret Service nor FBI or any federal agent or agency has contacted you, but you have police officers in Nevada coming to your parents' house when you're clearly not there, is again, that's a little fishy. And what in that video, what did you say about your parents' age and health?
83, 70, and 77. My dad's 83. My mom's 77. My dad's of really bad health. I mean, 10 heart attacks 3 strokes, diabetes, high cholesterol. It's a miracle that he's even alive. This is the sort of thing that kind of stress could literally give him a heart attack. He could die over this. And, I'm sure that's kind of their goal, and to put fear in me. Fear is always a tactic.
Okay.
Yeah, but do you fear for your life right now?
Sorry?
What?
No, that's probably a more immediate, important question. I want to ask you a follow-up though. About whether or not
how do you feel about your safety right now? Do you feel okay, or are you worried, or how do you feel?
Do you have any suicidal thoughts, any of that kind of stuff?
No, not at all. And I definitely am not suicidal. I'm a Christian. We don't do that. I don't suffer from depression. I don't suffer from high and low emotions. I mean, I've been through a lot in my life in terms of being in high pressure situations that, I think I haven't been stressed out. What I've been recently, I'll tell you, people asked me if I was angry yesterday in these interviews, right? And I didn't feel angry at the moment. I got to tell you, I had a hard hard time sleeping last night because I started feeling angry, because now this picture's starting to come to light as far as the damage they've done to my life, right? Now, I went shopping the other day because I need to buy clothes. There's people looking up at their cell phones, looking up at me, which for people that have seen the, Fugitive movie with Harrison Ford, Dr. Richard Kimball, it felt very much like being Dr. Richard Kimball. So I felt like I had to lock myself inside a house and be very careful of where I go out. Some girl I was dating broke up with me by text because, she thinks I'm, she thinks, she's
You're an
buying
assassin?
drink. Huh?
She thinks you're an assassin?
Yeah. So, and
Damn.
it's crazy, man. It's crazy. I mean, there's a huge ripple effect to this. And, it's just because this one complete a-hole, and there could be more to it, like we said, option
Right.
one before, but this, what this one dude certainly was gleefully trying to use the corpse of my.
I think so.
You're
muted
muted.
Did it cut out?
You just
now.
muted.
Yeah.
muted for a second.
Every time it rings, it cuts out. But basically, this sheriff is trying to use the corpse of my reputation on an international level to build a name for himself.
Yeah.
And so, which I see a lot of nasty things about, because I left Hollywood with these narcissistic characters that would sell their soul for fame, and there's no difference between this character. He's a servant to that. Like, he's playing for the mainstream media, and if you're like a true Trump fan, it's like that's not who you play with. You're the guy. Like today, I'm texting with these reporters, showing them all the evidence I showed you guys right now, thinking there's gonna be a follow-up, and then they're like done. And I talk a whole bunch of smack back. I'm like, oh, God forbid you guys actually follow the story. You took the sensational part, you shit on my reputation, now you don't want to follow the story anymore.
Right.
How convenient. So if you're like a true Trumper, you basically tell these guys to F off. You tell them to their face what a bunch of cowards they are, and honestly, they don't have any credibility, because they were cool with releasing all that stuff. They're cool with talking about this sheriff, letting him talk about all these lies. But when it comes to, let's follow the whole story to find out what the hell happened. By the way, there's a lot of outlets that are following it, a lot of outlets that aren't, that are mainstream, especially now big lawsuits been filed, and there's a lot more information as to, this guy being full of shit. They're not quite following that story,
Wow. Okay. So one, I want to be respectful of your time. We were telling you we'd go till about 3:30-ish. So, I mean, if you need to bounce for any other commitments, definitely feel free to let us know.
Could I hop in like 4 or 5 minutes? So that'd be good, because there's so much stuff I got to attend to. But yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, I wanted to totally be respectful of your time, man. I know I can connect with you on a private level. So if Blood and Seth have any like final questions or anything you guys want to ask in the last 5 minutes with him, that'd be great.
By the way, my podcast is called Blood Money. So cool.
Oh, so there you go, baby. You're gonna have to have me on. Talking crypto.
You gotta check out the Rumble channel for sure. Again it's linked down below in the video description, as well as the website americahappens.com, so you can check out all the different contributors, because that Matt Taibbi interview is on there, the Ian Freeman information videos are on there. There's a lot in that Route 91 documentary as well, which I have on my waiting list to play.
How do you feel about the election? Do you think Trump is going to win, or what do you think is going to happen here?
And with this information that I have, and we'll see how that plays out, because it's premature in terms of any assessment. The level of fraud is so massive and ridiculous, potentially speaking, allegedly speaking, that another phone call. It might actually that might actually be the steal. Although it might be getting to a point where even that starts looking ludicrous. And another event is necessary. Let me put it that way, So this is kind of like a chess game, play by play, and really, it just depended upon what happens. Do I think they're going to do everything in their power to prevent Trump? Certainly so.
Yeah.
Nice. And that before we let you go, I guess my only question was just about your personal legal prospects moving forward. I mean, we kind of touched on it earlier, but as far as like, not to be like cold or impartial, you mentioned keeping an even keel. You seem like emotionally you're in a better place today than you were yesterday. But as far as like being able to exact a plan of justice for yourself, I mean, I won't say revenge, but like
he's filed a lawsuit. I mean, did you know he filed a lawsuit against Riverside County Sheriff's Department?
And you mentioned that that's already available. That's publicly available. But in the event that this thing drags out, I mean, do you see this thing being the kind of thing that you'll have to divert some time to in order to be made whole on some of the reputational damage and some of the additional, like you said, some of the additional mudslinging and this sheriff trying to make a name for himself and all that? Do you think this might be more drawn out than just one suit?
I mean, it has so many facets at this point because it wasn't just the sheriff's department. It was also some media outlets that like ran with it with no evidence, right? And they ran with it very harshly. I don't know how that's going to play out. I've been fortunate in this respect because I've actually, I have the capability of actually filing lawsuits. I know enough law and studied enough law that I can file it. That would be the version that would take a lot of my time. This time I've been fortunate where there's been a lot of good people that have come forward. I certainly feel supported in this particular lawsuit. So right now it's not necessarily taking too much of my time. And I'm kind of, at this point, I just want to get my equipment back because there's a lot of episodes we got to publish that are really good episodes. There's a lot of work to be done. And that's really my biggest thing right now, getting that stuff back. And hopefully, the lawsuits are on cruise control. Obviously, this one's filed and we'll see what happens. But there's a lot of attorneys there. I mean, it might even be that this particular lawsuit is carried forward by the 2 attorneys involved in this one. There's others that are capable of doing other lawsuits. So we're going to kind of play day by day.
Got it. Okay. Well, I want to let people know again, man, if they want to follow you personally on X, it's at not Vem Miller, and this is going to be down below in the video description as well. You can check out AmericaHappens.com. That'll take you to the featured content, and you can sign up for the mailing list and get all the different social media links. You make sure you guys are following America Happens Network at America Happens 1. Those documentaries that we mentioned, the Bundy versus Deep State and Route 91, they can be found on the Rumble channel. So I definitely encourage you guys to check those out, to check out Vem Miller's statement video, and then check out the update about what happened at his parents' house if you guys are interested in digging into the information further. So
yeah, and also one quick thing, if they go to AmericaHappens.com, we have a featured section because our Rumble page has like 8,000 things on there. But like if you go to AmericaHappens.com in that featured section, some of these documentaries are actually featured, including the Bundy one, my statement. I didn't post a thing about the Metro Police and what they did a couple of days ago, with my parents and stuff. But other selects are there, and that's a really good start if you want to kind of not dig through a whole bunch of things. Cool. And also, Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV were also on there.
Yeah, I saw that on your website right below your social media links. It's pretty cool. I have to talk to you about that.
For sure.
So, Vem, again, man, thank you for your time, man. We really appreciate you taking the opportunity to do this. We really appreciate you being transparent, forthcoming, and I definitely want to encourage you to make sure you do everything you can to stay safe.
Thank you, guys.
Don't stay safe, Vem. Stay dangerous, my friend. Stay dangerous.
Stay alive and stay dangerous.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, bro.
All right,
thanks
guys.
for coming
Thank you
on.
very much. Thank you.
All right.
There you go.
What do you think?
I believe him. Oh my gosh.
I believe him.
I think that there's still a third version of the truth that's very close to what.
There's always a third version because there's always it's just dealing with 2 individuals. There's always 3 sides to the truth. There's your version, that version, and the actual truth.
Yeah.
And
that's just
I think he's close. I think he's closest to the truth. And I also think that sheriff was clout chasing.
I think that can be true, but I think it's a perfect storm of that sheriff clout chasing and him just needing to be a more seasoned gun owner and knowing when you disclose and when you don't. Because there's this thing called the Castle Doctrine. I wasn't going to beat him up over it personally, face to face. There's this thing called the Castle Doctrine where your car is treated like an extension of your home. And so things that are in your car are subject to the same types of legal protection. And you don't have to disclose unless you're asked directly in some states.
More so because cops can pull you over for like I've seen videos where cops have gone out with news people saying I could pull a guy over for this, and this, and then it gives them probable cause for more.
Yes. No, exactly, dude.
So they actually have more liberty with a vehicle, with a car, than they do your home.
No, they definitely can. But here's the thing: Castle Doctrine is as a concept, what it's meant to do is offer more protections for you in your car than you would just have out on the street, right? For in any other way, because
since it was in his trunk, it's even further them needing warrants and all that to get
right. And he's also said, he said why he bought the guns, the guns. He said they have never been shot. They can, all of this stuff can be very much proven. He's even said he's never went to he went and bought guns to protect himself, but never properly, in my opinion,
that doesn't matter.
learn.
Yeah, no, exactly. He's not quite there yet as a
he
gun
even
owner.
said he's never gone to a gun range or anything to that effect. So if that's the case, it's like you're really uneducated with what to do. So I understand where Seth is like, he could have done this, and this, but he just wasn't educated because it probably wasn't even something he was thinking about. And the fact that he was allowed to go to other events, and the fact that he wasn't planning on taking the guns to the rally, that it was a parking area. That's why it always says he was arrested outside of a Trump rally. He wasn't arrested in the Trump rally. And again, he's starting to drop all the information about his special invitation and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I think...
Well, remember there was a guy that was arrested outside of...
yeah, but there's evidence that guy was plotting.
Was the RNC?
Oh, I thought we were talking about the Trump golf course, because that
was not that one. There was another one. Before the golf course incident.
Okay, I didn't.
Yeah.
Was there a guy? Yeah, there's been so much fucking shit happening, man.
Yeah, and I feel bad. I actually didn't ask. Maybe a relevant question would have been exactly what he was driving. Maybe he already mentioned it somewhere else. Because here's the thing: he may have just fit the description. This sheriff sounds like he's an incredibly lazy law enforcement professional, right? Who takes the shortcuts of like, they'll profile a car. Look, if it's got a certain kind of rims, if it's a certain year, if it's a certain color.
Well, that's what they were saying. The car. If you listen to the Riverside Sheriff's press conference thing, they say that the car was in disarray. It was extremely messy and dirty, and they saw multiple IDs, fake IDs, and multiple passports, and his tags weren't what you would consider to be legal tags. And I'm glad this like sovereign citizen thing came up so that people can be educated, because there is a fucking big, huge difference between lawful and legal, because it is very possible for things to be lawful and illegal and things to be legal and unlawful. So if that is the case, they are not the fucking same. And it's the legal system with their word magic using different definitions of words that try to confuse the everyday citizen. And that's, that's where it's like people who are trying to look in how to exit the matrix. You're deemed crazy. Mm-hmm. I know you probably thought that about me when I was like going hardcore down that hole, which I'm about me when I was going down. You
saying I thought
you probably thought at some point there was something wrong with me.
Not at all.
Okay, well I appreciate that.
Yeah, round of applause for that.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I'm always, but I'm a data guy. I'm always wanting to know.
My thing
is, where do we see that it's working? Because
thing is,
Crypto Rich, right? Like we have a mutual who I still haven't released this yet, but I did an interview with a guy out of London who claims that he's found a perfectly legal loophole or proper loophole to avoid paying his income tax in Great Britain, and that he believes it works in the United States. We went through it. It's compelling stuff, but I haven't released it yet because, like you said, there's certain things where like it can make sense, and you don't seem crazy for wanting to learn about it and wanting to try to figure out a way to get past it. What's difficult is knowing whether or not you're actually going to have any of the intended legal benefit. Right? Like some of this stuff it's too esoteric, and you come across a low information law enforcement professional like the sheriff, and like, dude, like you're back at the lowest common denominator, which isn't like a dumb law enforcement professional.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like that's the bone I had to pick with Barabbas and hit all of his efforts and such. It's like, yeah, you might be on paper correct, but the application of that and standing up in a corrupt court, you're asking for a corrupt court to favor you, and that's never going to happen. You see what they did to Donald Trump. If they'll do it to a previous president, they'll do it to anyone.
Yeah, so, but I think people like it sucks. Like when I went down the law rabbit hole, I came to one of the conclusions I came to is that basically we need to completely fully understand the legal system in order to operate within it, or the other way around of figuring out how to get out from under it.
You have to get out from under it.
But understanding it, there are people that I've interviewed and I've talked to and have been around that will go into a courtroom and will just shut those fucking judges up. That will shut all those attorneys up to the point that they don't want to have that person in the court, and they dismiss shit. Okay, now there's that guy from High Frequency Radio, Yusuf L. He's one. There's a guy that I've interviewed, Carl Lentz. That's one. This guy, Alphonse Fagiello. These guys will talk fucking circles around fucking people who take the bar exam.
And the Bannister guy, the former IRS agent, he went up against them and won.
Yeah,
So
but
I
he
understand.
had attorney representation. But you're dealing with a Boy Scout. You know, that guy had he was clean as a whistle.
Yep.
There was nothing bad anybody could say about this guy who said, I can no longer work for the IRS because I have found taxation of labor to be unconstitutional. And I took an oath to the Constitution. Therefore, I cannot work for this entity anymore. Bounce. Bye. And I'm not paying taxes anymore, too, since 1999, by the way. But you definitely, like David saying, you definitely got to know your shit. I'm glad that we got to do this, the three of us together, and try to have this on as many platforms. While we were streaming, I'm thinking, like, right now we got 310 people watching, which is the most amount. This stream, obviously, I feel like has been suppressed because other streams that we do on other topics have more viewers. So I feel like that's why I was trying to encourage people to share this one out, because I'm pretty sure there's not going to be a lot of people that are going to interview him and have him on talking about some of the stuff that we talked about as freely as what we talked about. So I like to think that what we did today is a service for people to get a better comprehension and understanding about the situation from what actually happened, without some spin bullshit media thing kind of being added to it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you guys got anything you want to add?
No, that was fun, man. I like
good.
Yeah, venturing a little bit away from crypto, I mean, this
you
bull
won
market is
this.
going to come back.
It will, but I may not be with it. So I don't know.
Me either. Shit.
All right.
The thing is, I own crypto, and I will always, I will always be in the game. I'm just not 100% sure how much I'm going to continue participating in the circus of crypto YouTube.
Got it.
One is like all my peers are, most all my peers are pure embarrassment at this point.
Right.
And
for the blood, I thought you were street smart, bro.
I mean, it doesn't matter what I do. Crypto never really
street smart, bro.
Crypto never really fucking cared. I mean, as all the big fucking interviews I did, I remember in the beginning of 2020, I was around 3,000 subscribers. It was when I switched over and started doing the other content, the Stranger Than Fiction shit, that my channel started to actually grow, to actually have comments, to actually have interaction and actual things happening on my channel like they're supposed to, versus a bunch of lazy crypto people who don't want to subscribe to your channel.
Oh, they want to listen. The crypto people want this.
And it's just getting sad. So yeah, I mean, I've been saying it for quite some time. You know, I may do something that has some crypto aspect possibly in the future, but man, this is starting to become a dead end. And at this point, it's like everything that we kind of fought for this shit, and a lot of people have fought for, is just being taken away. And
it's not the same crypto industry. No,
it's
a 180. It's a complete 180.
It's the BlackRock Blockstream party, and I don't want to be a part of it.
Yeah, shout out to the Gentlemen of Crypto. I saw their stream this morning. I saw
nice.
One half of the Gentlemen of Crypto was back. They fell out. I have to get more information on that.
Is the Z part gone?
Yeah.
That's the only way I know to say it nicely in a weird way.
Yeah.
It's kind of obvious, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, if there was a one-man show and it didn't include the Z, then I think people know what's up. What's up? Inquiring.
That's it, bro. This has been a great stream. Thanks, Rice, for putting that together. That's epic. And now I have to figure out a way to one-up you. I might just have to call Elon.
Yeah, get Elon on. That would definitely be a one-up on me. And, you know, it's crazy.
I don't want to jump out there, too. I'm going to have to build up to it, you know?
And real quick, before you wrap things up, I want to say, like, it's crazy how this thing transpired, because I was trying to get in touch with them. I did want to do an interview with them. It was I intended for it to be one-on-one. We talked about what we were going to talk about yesterday, and we decided to talk about this very situation. So after talking to Vim, I was like, I have to, you know, it was, to me, it felt like it was, everything kind of was like rolling a carpet out for this to happen. It's like we decided to already talk about this before Vim agreed to even do this. And it just happened to work out that we were able to get the motherfucker himself.
Yeah, that was dope, man. That was dope.
So I would encourage people after this video, comment on all of our channels on this video. share the video out. If you're watching on X, please repost it so we can get more eyes watching this video, because there's 314 people watching, and we can amplify that with your help, because that's how this thing works. This is not just, we can't do this alone without a community. And at this point, we really need our community to help us get out of the shadows. Like, if you got a flashlight, shine your flashlight and share this information. Any final thoughts or anything you want to say before we wrap up, guys?
No, this is a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to Blood one-upping you with that on the next next guest.
I mean, you know some people too now. I'm just saying.
I'm not 100% sure I can do next week. I'll let you guys know, but I'm not against continuing doing this. It's just I'd like to stay out as much as possible of the blockchain crypto element.
Barabbas. We want Barabbas back.
Got it.
So, ladies and gentlemen, again, smash the like button. Please make sure you subscribe to all of our channels, following us on all of our socials. We are streaming on all 3 of our YouTube channels, all 3 of our X accounts, my Rumble account. We have links down below in each other's video description for each other's social media links. So make sure you support all 3 of us. If you have not already, that would be greatly appreciated. Before we wrap things up, I encourage you, as always, to be a blessing to others. Treat people how you want to be treated. Be the glitch that you want to see in this matrix. Be the change that you want to see in this world. Question yourself, question everything, and then know yourself. And until next time, practice change. Man, I don't know what is up with this. It's like somebody's trying to like screw me up on my computer.
I'm sure.
Land, life, and liberty, these values.
There you go. I was gonna back you up with the beatbox.
I'm trying to restart it. Yeah, let me stop it so I can get this thing right. Here we go.
We can just clap our hands and you can go.
Shout out to the handlers trying to fuck up my stream. Because I know you're listening.
Blood. Detroit flow, screaming from the D.
And as a matter of fact, this is the best way to stay. You're going to be listening to everybody who's on this stream at this point. So you motherfuckers are guilty by association.
Yes, indeed.
Got my eyes on the charts, ain't no time to sleep. Get that money, gotta keep it creep. That's my crypto blood, just the toasters on the line. Stacking my coin, got the market on my mind. Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum too. Cash is king, but I'm looking for a new move. I know the culture of the markets like the streets. Got my finger on the pulse, can't nobody beat. I see the trends, I see the flow. Got my strategies in place, you know.
Yo, it's MineYourBiz on the mic, coming through the mist, talking crypto and privacy things you can't dismiss. YouTube's wild jungle, I'm the lion, can't resist. Guiding through the blockchain, teaching about the risk. Mind your biz, don't miss. Eeny, mighty biz, we on a privacy blitz. Stepping in the mix, dropping knowledge with no tricks. YouTube to the wallet, keep it tight, no links. Click clack, I hack the facts, that's how I attack. From Bitcoin to Monero, stacking privacy back. YouTube's got eyes, but I'm the cloak in disguise. NYB on the rise, educating the wise. Mind your biz, don't miss. Eeny, mighty biz, we on the privacy blitz. Step in the mix, dropping knowledge with no tricks. YouTube to the wallet, keep it tight, no links.
Rice TVX, the Mike's Live Wire. American Pitbull, real gold buyer. Sound money advocate, rights defender. In the crypto arena, he's the top contender. From the gritty streets of the digital age, Rice lays wisdom, chapter and page. Silver, gold, he scores only the bold. Land, life, and liberty, these values hold. Constitution, deep dive, knowledge revival. Navigate the system, critical for survival. Rice engraved like inscriptions.